Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right, let's get this shit started. Thank you everybody for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope everybody enjoyed episode 2 with Alfred Whitey Villarino. Definitely interesting story there. We're back with episode 3 with another very good friend of mine, Mr. Rafa Centeno. How you doing, man?
Hey, dude. What's up? Good to be here. It's good hearing your voice.
Yeah, we're not dead, right?
Not yet.
Yeah.
I'll give it a little bit. It'll catch up.
Yeah, in the midst of pandemic 2020, we're still breathing. I was almost out of breath just getting out of the shower. So,
dude, yeah, you told me about that before we started recording. I was actually kind of worried about you.
That was just the extra pounds. I don't think we'll add it to the pandemic.
Oh shit.
So we'll take care of one thing then the other.
One thing at a time, sir.
Yeah, there we go.
One thing at a time.
So we're gonna talk about a few things. We gotta a lot of we obviously we've known each other for a while. So I want to talk to the people on the podcast a little bit about how we knew each other. I don't know if you listened to the Whitey podcast, but I think we did a pretty good job wrapping up his oddball existence in Almani there. So we'll kind of do the. Go ahead.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you want to give me a little bit of feedback on that,
dude? When I was listening to the podcast, it kind of reminded me of what's that one movie from the 80s, The Breakfast Club?
Yeah.
Where, everybody's thinks that they're different from everybody else, but then you just realize that, hey man, we were all fucking feeling like outsiders amongst each other, but yet we're all pretty much the fucking same.
No, Whitey was just like a very light-skinned brown guy.
like pink, light-skinned.
No, salmon. Guy. I believe the color was salmon. Right?
The red tornado strikes again.
One of the many nicknames we didn't actually go into detail about. He did want me to talk to you about, and I don't know, 2 things specifically, because I don't know if you're able to share, because I don't know how long you've been out with your injury and whatnot, but Whitey wanted me to ask about a typical day for a nurse right now. And I said, you know what? I'll try to get it out of him, but I think he's injured. And if you can't talk to us about a typical day for a nurse during pandemic 2020, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got hurt?
Okay, so and I don't know, as you may have heard, I got injured the first week of February. So right before this whole pandemic thing started, I was already out of work for like a week or 2. Maybe even 3, and then I started hearing all about this. Oh God, this whole pandemic thing's gonna happen. The zombies are gonna rise up, and then the government's gonna take over and take our rights. So, I have not been back to work. I do have a lot of friends that are at work right now, and they're telling me some interesting things, but nothing that I can tell you like firsthand experience. I can tell you that, I have been keeping up with some stuff around the nursing world and social media, and depending on what area you're in, it can be the difference between night and day. For example, where I work, which is a county hospital out in the Inland Empire, we're not really seeing much. Pretty much everybody's scared to go to the emergency room, so you're not getting your everyday cases like you used to prior to pandemic, pre-pandemic. But take New York City, for example, and they're fucking filling up what are those called? Like mobile freezers full of like bodies, and they're just stacking them up and making mass graves, night and day.
Yeah.
So it's different. It depends where you're at.
Do you have any friends over there in New York?
Not that are nurses, no. But I have a couple of friends that are, a couple of army buddies that are from New York City.
Okay. Well, do you want to switch gears a little and give Whitey a little backstory about how you got injured there? I think you told me a little bit.
As you know, we were all grapplers growing up, wrestling, and I decided to relive my glory days, and I joined a jiu-jitsu gym, and First of all, let me open up with I'm a fat piece of shit. I'm pretty out of shape right now. I am the biggest I've ever been in my life, and I groan sometimes when I go to tie my shoes and shit. So, anyways,
sometimes, well, you need to catch up.
So, anyways, I joined this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym. I'm feeling pretty good. Second day of I was gonna say practice, but I don't know what the hell the right terminology is for Jiu-Jitsu. I think they call it quote unquote, training, or whatever. Let's just call it practice.
All right.
Second day of practice, right? We're going over, hey, go from one end to the mat to the other and do double legs. And the first time around, I was like really sketchy, really like, oh my god, this I can't remember how to do this. Here we go. And within 2 minutes, I'm like flying across the mat, just doing double legs like crazy. And I'm just like, oh my god, I still got it in me. It's great. Fast forward a couple of weeks, I'm back in there, and we're doing some live sessions at the end of practice. And I decided to go up against this guy that weighs, probably 300 pounds.
How much do you weigh now?
What's that?
How much do you weigh now?
Me? $105. I mean, 205.
So it's still a big ass gap right there.
It's a pretty big gap, man. But don't know my limits, but I quickly found them when I grabbed him by the gi and I kept pushing him, waiting for him to push back, but he wouldn't. So I kept baiting him, kept pushing him. As soon as he, stopped me from pushing him and pushed back, I kind of did a hip toss.
Uh-huh.
I grabbed him by the gi, I turned him, and I did a hip toss. I got both his feet off the ground, which was a bad idea because after a certain point, momentum just took me, and it was more like him throwing me at that point. And I landed on my wrist pretty messed up, man. The back of my wrist touched my forearm pretty much. So it was pretty bad.
So there you go, Whitey. You wanted to know why he wasn't working regularly. He can't give you a story as far as what it's like to be a nurse during the pandemic right now, but at least you know that he's still out there trying to throw people 100 pounds heavier than him. But I mean, you try to get a little bit of that glory back. You get in the swing of things, and you just don't know any better. That's all of us.
Fucking A, man. It was, oh god.
I tried to do that little MMA run a few years ago and whatnot, and I thought I could go in there without working out like maybe once or twice a week, right? I'm like, I don't need to work out that much. I'm like, it's all muscle memory. I still fucking got it. I'm the king, And you go in there, you're supposed to, be warmed up and whatnot, but it's kind of hard because I don't know if you remember those shows. They did them like in fucking in warehouses, right? So like it's like a stone cold ass fucking warehouse, man. And I remember they're just like, all right, it's time for you to go out there, and then I'm like, I think I'm warmed up. You do your little jumping routine, and, your little Kurt Angle, your little Brock Lesnar back there, right?
Oh yeah.
But then,
you might slap your legs up a little bit before you go in there.
Yeah,
slap them thighs.
Get yourself more mentally hyped than anything. But I remember I just went out there and I'm like, in a 7 seconds or so, I just ended up, throwing my damn my problem shoulder out again. Like, yeah.
I remember that your left shoulder, right?
Yeah. So that was like time number 3 or 4 that it popped out.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just like, we'll keep it in Al Bundy mode, keep the memory alive, but don't need to be doing that shit anymore.
No, man. It was heartbreaking. As soon as I went down, I heard some pops. And then I was like, whoa, that did not sound good. I feel some pain. I looked at my wrist, and I'm all like, yep, that looks like an obvious deformity. Ugh. I need to go to the hospital now.
That's it's kind of like a story of your life, though, right? Pins?
Yeah, man. It's on the left side, too. Ankle, elbow, wrist. Jesus.
Yeah, so I think you got them all then, right?
I think so. I mean, I'm going to try to avoid the neck.
I was going to say, eventually, hip, maybe.
I know, man. That knee's definitely coming up soon.
Ay.
Goddamn paratrooper knees. Ugh.
So
Oh, but
I wanted to
get
jump in.
this.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Get this. So I fall, pop, 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 pop. Ow, this hurts. And then I just kind of like lay down on my back, and I told somebody, "Oh, give me my phone. I need to call my wife." So I call my wife, Rosanna. I love you, by the way. And I put her on speaker, and she's like, "Oh, what's going on?" Because it's like late at night, like 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Hey, babe, I fucked up." And all of a sudden, she went from sleepy to very serious. What the fuck did you do?
Uh-oh.
And I'm just like, I think I broke my wrist. And the next words out of her mouth were, "You fucking idiot!"
That's
Get to the hospital. I was like, oh, okay.
I mean,
You fucking idiot.
That's the kind of honesty I think everybody wishes to aspire to right there.
Yeah, that's the love of my life. That's my wife right there.
What sympathy, you know?
She knows better. She knows me well.
Oh man! But is she? Yeah, I mean, now that you're, when you planning to going back to work and being all fully functional though?
Well, I plan to go back to work in 2 weeks. I
Okay.
mean, it's been like 12 weeks, 14
Holy
weeks
crap.
already. Yeah, man. Been out of the game for a while. Kind of gun shy right now to go back to work, as anybody would. But you know me, just fucking dive right in, see what's up.
Just double
Go
leg the
ahead
doctor,
first.
yeah. Yeah. Double leg everybody. Double leg somebody. If you don't double leg somebody, it was kind of a wasted injury.
Yeah.
So I want to jump into a little bit of your background. You know, I think one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because you have a cool story. I think it's a cool story where, you know, you grow up pretty disadvantaged. You know, like I didn't realize how privileged I was to be, you know, a citizen and whatnot. Till you have friends like you know, growing up, and I'm like, oh, you can't do this. Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, but I can do that. I'm like, but we're the same color. You know, and
Same color, same city, same everything.
same everything except you were born a few hundred feet the other way. You know,
Yeah.
and I think but you have a pretty cool story as far as like how you got to where you wanted to be because it's very easy, I think, to just take the easy way out and be like, oh well, I have all these obstacles, I can't do anything about it, fuck it. And I know you know people like that, you know.
Oh yeah.
Or they'll try to find the quick way to make a buck when it's a stupid ass idea, you know. I mean, I think we've had some of those conversations before, but
Yeah. Yes, we have.
but you kind of just you did everything, in my opinion, you know, like not the easy way, but you did it the right way, you know, and that's one of the big reasons I wanted you to share your story on here. So go back as far as you want, talk about as much as you want, or as little as you want, you know, but. What were your humble upbringings there?
Well, I mean, dude, we're Omani kids. You know what I mean? Nobody in Omani is coming from a perfect home, and that's the sad truth. You know, Omani ghetto kids grew up with little to no supervision, freaking, you know, in poverty. I mean, I guess to put things into context, if I didn't go to school, I didn't really eat. So summer school was always a must for me. What else? You know, growing up, I still remember I went to like Head Start or kindergarten. I can't remember which one. But I still remember showing up to the first day of school and some lady talking in a foreign language I couldn't understand. And I was like, what the hell is going on right now? What is she trying to say? And me and the other kid that was, you know, a paisa, we looked at each other and we're like, what, you know, ¿qué dijo? And we're like, no sé, I don't know. So it was a big learning curve.
So I mean, that kind of that's and that's in Almani.
Oh yeah, an Omani, dude.
They just kind of threw you right in there, like as an English speaker.
Yeah, and they quickly picked up that either A, this kid's really stupid, or B, he just doesn't understand the language. So eventually they sent me to that, I think they call it a dual emergent program now. Back then, it was just it's the classroom for the Paisa kids.
There, that was the
So,
label in the yearbook. I remember that.
so they taught us stuff in Spanish first, how to read, how to write, which was obviously we all needed to do. Your ABCs and all that, and then around third or fourth grade, they started integrating English, like reading and writing English. The whole time we were learning how to speak it, but not so much the reading or the writing part.
Okay. Now, I know, like, I work with kids, and when I work with kids, I don't think they start to notice, like, hey, I'm a little bit different, till probably about, like,
Yeah.
high school, maybe late middle school, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
When did you start to notice, like, wait a minute, hold on, I speak the same, but, like, I'm not able to do the same shit?
Okay, so there's two instances, right? I guess I always knew I was a little different. Um, I don't know how I knew it, but maybe mom and dad were telling me, hey, you can't get into trouble like other kids because you're not like other kids. You'll get deported. Or hey, be careful with this. Don't be doing shit like that. So it was always in the back of my mind. Oh fuck, I'm gonna get deported. This came perfect fruition. Seventh grade, I was riding my bike. I fell. I broke my elbow pretty bad. And
Left side,
I
right?
remember,
Left side.
what's that?
Left side.
Side, dude. Yeah, my body landed on the street. My arm and my elbow landed on the sidewalk.
Ooh.
So that curve really did a number on me. And I remember picking up my broken elbow and walking like 2 blocks to the nearest park, right? And I just feel bones crunching in there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the kids is like, "Oh shit, I'll go get your mom." Somebody called the paramedics, and I remember the paramedics getting there, the fire department getting there, and they're asking me a bunch of questions, and I'm not answering any of them. I'm just giving, no shit. I'm giving my name and my birthday, and that's it. Not where do you live, who are your parents, do you have any insurance? Oh, and I'm allergic to penicillin, by the way.
Yep.
That's it. And I remember the paramedics were looking at me like, what the fuck's wrong with this kid? He's retarded. And then when my mom got there with like my insurance card, and they started asking me the same questions, I looked at my mom. She's like, well, fucking answer, stupid. And I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I live down the street. Here's my address. I go to the school. I'm allergic to that. This, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, funny. You didn't know that 5 minutes ago. And I'm like, well, yeah, I thought I was going to get deported. You don't get to the hospital. There's a hospital in TJ, asshole. Go.
That's funny. I remember, I don't know if I ever told you, but, we had this whole thing at the house when we were growing up, and there were four kids in the house, and we were always told, like, don't answer the front door because it might be a social worker. Right? So it's kind of like in the same boat where I could relate there, where it's like, because we had the issues at home and whatnot, and I remember one time I had a friend come over with video games or some shit, and he's knocking for like 30 minutes. I'm like, these fucking social workers won't go away. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, fuck, they're just like really at it today. So I decided to just kind of peek out the window, see like, all right, let's see who this motherfucker is. I'm like, oh shit, that's right. We were supposed to play video games today. I answered the door. I'm like, hey man, sorry, I thought you were a social worker. That
CPS banging on the door again.
Yeah, so I get it. Growing up on Monty, we gotta make sure we temper our expectations as far as what we share.
Oh yeah, curb your enthusiasm and your outlook on life, definitely.
So you mentioned another possible moment where you kind of felt it.
Oh, okay. So freshman year of high school, I'm all gung ho. I'm all motivated. You and I were smart kids. We didn't, we slacked off, yeah, but we weren't stupid. I was into schoolwork and all that, and so I did really good in school. And then sophomore year comes around, and we go to the career center, and we start talking about college. And we start talking about college, and people are like, "Oh, what's your social security number?" And everybody's like, "Oh, this, that, and the other." And I'm looking around like, hey man, what the fuck's a social security number? I don't know what that is. So they're like, oh, your social security number, it's what you need to go to college and stuff like that to get financial aid. And that's when it started clicking, like, hey man, college probably ain't gonna happen for you. So at that point it kind of diminished my hopes and dreams of going to college, getting an education, and all that. So I started not really giving a fuck about school,
Right.
and I really just said, "Ah, screw it. I'll do what I have to do, but I'm not going to do anything extra because this is the end of the line for me, and I'll just stay eligible for wrestling."
Hmm. That's funny, like, because that's when I start to see it with a lot of the kids that I work with too. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, during the whole college process, they're trying to find out, where do I want to go to college, where can I go to? I mean, there's some options, there's some programs and stuff now that maybe you didn't have available to you, but it's still kind of like, it sucks because they're like, oh, everybody else is having an easy time with it, especially if it's like somebody who's a hard worker, and then they see this other dumbass who just kind of gets everything, because some people are just like dumbasses that just get everything handed to them and whatnot.
Man. You don't know what kind of golden ticket you have as an American citizen in this life until you don't, and you're looking from the outside in like, holy shit, you have the golden ticket for opportunity, and I don't, and I kind of feel really fucking left out. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. I mean, but also, shit, man, Mountain View sucked as far as like career center or anything like that. I think they had like one career center lady who maybe talked to you like once in your 4 years, and she was very like shitty about it and made you take a test that said that I should have been a florist. Once I saw that fucking test that said I should have been a florist, and like that was my one career path based on that test. I'm like, this sucks. I don't know what kind of I'm like, I don't know what kind of question I answered. It was a stupid question, like, do you like flowers or not? I'm like, I guess, I'm gonna select yes, I guess.
Florist.
I mean, that fucking did it, man. I wasn't gonna. I should just put no. I'm like, fuck the flowers.
Oh, dude, so you didn't click on yes on the I like strawberries part?
See, that they would have told me, you got to go see your friend in the fields because he's not going to be going to college with you.
You see Rafa over there? Just go ahead and follow him. He knows where to go.
You see the one with the pins perpetually in the left side of his body?
Jesus.
But I mean, like, I know it was a little bit like daunting, and it was a little bit like shit. Well, I don't have as much to look forward to. But I think from what I saw, I used to go over to your house a lot in the morning. We used to go to school together and whatnot. I thought you had a pretty supportive household there. I mean, I know y'all probably had your separate issues and whatnot, but to me it seemed like you had a lot of supporters.
I had, well, let's say, how can I say this? I think probably sixth or fifth grade was the last year I lived with like a nucleus family, as in, mom and dad were in the picture. After that, things kind of fell apart. The shit fell apart, and like no more mom and dad for whatever reason. So I had my sister, who was 10 years older than me, pretty much raising me. So she did the best she could, you know what I mean? And I had my other sisters living there too. So I grew up with a lot of family, but it was very much still a broken home, and they did the best that they could with the knowledge that they had. But, when you're growing up in Almani first, or Generation Zero, or Generation One, whatever the hell you want to call it, you don't know, the career path, the future, how to get through. So I was kind of left, flapping in the wind a little. But no, there was definitely love in that family.
Yeah, to me, kind of reminded me of like Full House in Almani, except it wasn't Full House. It was La Casa Llena.
Dude, fucking, I think we had like 12 people or 10 or 12 people living in a 3-bedroom fucking condo at one point.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. It was like, I was like, dang, that's like the most packed house I've ever seen. But I'm like, but everybody's up in the morning with their fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and shit, and packing the kids into the cars and whatnot. It's almost, it was almost kind of like Full House. I'm saying, except without that cheesy song, like that everywhere you look, whatever. It would be more like boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Everywhere you look. It'd be more like that.
Dude. Oh, my God.
But, yeah, it was like that's what it reminded me of. You know, like a Hispanic real life Full House.
Like, dude, I used to sleep upstairs next to the stairs in the hallway. That was like my little section and shit.
Oh, you were the comedian Joey then.
So whenever some asshole would show up drunk going up and down those stairs, I'd be like, "What the fuck? I'm trying to sleep. Can you be a little bit, a little quieter when you walk up the goddamn stairs?"
Oh man. So I mean, I know like afterwards, you went to college for a little bit after high school. What was that, Citrus, right? No, you went to Rio Hondo with me.
Yeah, I went to Rio for like. I did. It took me 2 semesters to flunk out of, community college.
Hey, there you go. You gave it at least 2.
I gave it the good old community college try, my friend.
But was it kind of more of the same there, where you didn't seem too motivated to do anything with that?
So, when I was 17, so I think it was like senior year in high school, my sister actually adopted me.
Right.
Like, she had to become a citizen and everything. And, dude, she adopted me right in the nick of time. Like, 17, boom. You're changing your legal last name. That's why I have a different last name now. And that's it. Now, here's your alien residency card. Do what you want. Mm-hmm. And, that's a direct pathway to citizenship. So I was like, holy shit, man. I got my golden ticket. Let's try this college thing out. But, senior year, you're not really going to do much of an impact. So you're going to Rio Hondo. So I tried Rio Hondo for like 2 semesters, but I didn't know how to study. I didn't know how to read. Read and study and retain and be able to take tests or anything. Like you said, none of you kind of sucks at preparing you for college. And they did a bang-up job at, not being prepared. So obviously didn't know what I was doing, and I flunked out. Okay. I did so bad that I got a C in swimming. Who the fuck gets a C in swimming?
Did you drown?
I mean a little, but I'm still here.
Wait, you were a wetback that drowned?
Yeah, man. How many Mexicans did you know from Almani that actually knew how to swim?
Well, the ones that had to like swim over. But then again. Then again, if you're if you're just in a pool of chlorine and whatnot, I guess there's no real incentive to, have to stay afloat.
Yeah, so that happened.
So usually the first round of school is kind of like not so positive.
No, not at all. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no discipline. I didn't know what direction I wanted to take in life. I didn't know how to study. I didn't know how to do the whole schoolwork thing. So, it just wasn't panning out for me. Mm-hmm. Around that time, So let me backtrack a little bit. I get my Social Security card, right, or my green card, whatever the hell you want to call it, with my worker's permit. Mm-hmm. And I think like within a week, I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna get a job because now I can."
Right.
And so I went to go work at Big 5 in Almani. And that was my first job ever, Big 5. So I start working when I was 17, 18, I got out of Big 5. I went to start working for Pet Boys as a delivery guy, delivering parts. Mm-hmm. And then at a certain point, like I was juggling school, I was juggling work, and I was also living out of my truck for like 6 months or some shit. I think I couch surfed at your place a couple of times.
Yeah, I think so. It was like for a couple weeks or so.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I was just bouncing up and down. I was bouncing between you, Victor, my girlfriend at the time, and the back of my car. Mm. And then a coworker, too. And that's what I was doing. And then, that kind of took its toll on me. And I realized that I was sacrificing work for school. So, I was sacrificing school for work to eat. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just going to stop, and I'm going to do what I always kind of wanted to do, which was join the Army.
Right. And I don't remember if it was like a big thing like, hey, I'm gonna go to the Army, everybody, or if it was a little more like like a slower burn. As I remember when my brother joined, he was just kind of like from one day to another, it was just like, hey, join the army, everybody. You know.
Hey, you guys got free shirts in there? Oh hell yeah!
I'll take some of that money. You know.
Yeah, I mean, they told me there's a war going on. Whatever. I'll go in.
But I think that was one of the things you always kind of talked about, though, right? Like that you wanted to do.
Well, yeah, I did, but I couldn't. I wasn't a fucking citizen or a resident or anything. So it was one of those things that it was like, yeah, you kind of want to do that, but there's no way in hell that you can. So shut the fuck up. But so the thought was always in the back of my head: I want to go in the army. I want to go in the army. I want to go in the army. And then finally, when I was able to, and the opportunity presented itself, I said, "Yeah, fuck it, let's do it."
And so, where did you first go? Like straight to when you go to basic. What state did you go to?
So I was really smart, and I decided to join the infantry in a time of war, and that was quite an experience. But all infantry guys go to one basic training in the military, and that's Fort Benning, Georgia, home of the infantry. Yeah, man. My first plane ride was to Georgia to go to basic training. My second plane ride was in Fort Benning, and they told me to jump out of the fucking plane. So that was fun.
Whoa. And you didn't break anything?
I didn't. I hit my head pretty fucking hard. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh my god, that really hurt. And I have to do that 4 more times to get my jump wings. I'm like, one more time, and if I hit my head like that again, I'm gonna call it quits. But of course I didn't, because I'm too stupid to quit. And I became a paratrooper.
How did that whole experience kind of play into you moving on and into becoming the man that you wanted to be? Because I think that did a lot for you.
Oh yeah, man. So being a paratrooper, you kind of take a lot of pride in that. It's not an easy accomplishment, I guess, being an infantry paratrooper. So obviously, it kind of it molds you. It gives you, confidence. It makes you want more. So you took on a challenge, you conquered it, you feel great about yourself, and it's something that if you pick up momentum, you keep going with it. And so I went with it. Afghanistan was a complete life changer for me, a complete game changer. I think before I went to Afghanistan, I was a kid, and then when I came out, I was a completely different person. It definitely takes a little piece of your soul there. So you come out a little bit more mature, come out different, and then you could take it a lot of different ways. Everybody, if you're a combat infantryman and you've seen combat, it affects you, whether you want to admit it or not. It does, and everybody processes it in their own fashion. But I remember very specifically there was this day when we were in this long ass mission, and I was climbing this mountain. It was huge, and I was carrying so much goddamn weight, and I was so fucking tired because we had to go up and down this bitch twice, that I was kind of delirious at the time. I was kind of reaching my peak of the fuel I had inside myself. I think I burnt through all my calories, and I think I became hypoglycemic, which is a fancy way of saying my sugar level went too far down. So everything started getting foggy. Everything didn't make really much sense, and I had to keep going. And it was at that moment where I thought, like, dude, if somebody shoots at me right now, there's not a goddamn thing I'm gonna be able to do about it. Like, I might fall over and lay here like a potato and let the rounds hit me, but there's no goddamn way I'm gonna move. So it was during that time that I was thinking to myself, fuck, Rafa, this is some fucking shit right here. You've been in this goddamn country for 10 plus months, in combat, and there's not a day that's granted to you. There was never a day where I thought, I'm gonna make it today. It's just the fucking unknown. So when I was climbing up that goddamn mountain, all delirious and shit, I started thinking to myself, Rafa, there's no fucking way that you went through all this shit just so you could go back to the world and be a nobody and do nothing with your life. And so that thought kept, bouncing in my head. There's no fucking way you did all of this just so you could go back to the world and be a piece of shit. So, lo and behold, I came out of the army with all 4 limbs, still able to walk. And, that promise that I had made to myself, that thought that kept, bouncing in my head, I kind of like, all right, time to make something of my life. There's no way I went through that fucking hellhole just so I wouldn't do anything.
And that actually, I mean, you came out like a man possessed after that, because I think, I saw you differently. You had goals. You wanted to do things as far as nursing, going to school. I mean, you got married. You weren't one of the impulsive ones that got married at 20, right?
Nah, fuck that.
What do you think of those guys that get married like after they buy their first car?
Dude, I'll tell you the story. I was a sergeant in the 82nd Airborne in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Beautiful place. If you ever want to visit, don't, because it's a pretty fucking rough town. And the only women that are in North Carolina are strippers, girls that were born there, or girls that were left there.
Eesh.
No matter any way you cut it, you want to stay away from those women. So my safety brief, whenever we had a new guy, they're brand new to the Army, they come in, it's their first duty station, it's their first weekend, and they're going to experience freedom. And I look at them and I'm like, all right, asshole, here's the thing. 1, don't get married. 2, don't buy a car. And 3, do not fucking do drugs. I'm all like, you don't do any of those 3 things, we're good to go. All right? Just come back Monday, we'll start working this out, okay? But do those 3 things for me. And I'm like, oh, Roger, Sergeant, I got it. No shit. There's these 2 guys that come in, and they come out of the same airborne school and everything. They're both in the same squad when they get to my unit, and within 2 weeks, hey, Sergeant, I'm getting married to the stripper I met. I think she really likes me. And I was like, God damn it. I fucking specifically told you not to do that. They're like, yeah, but, we have a lot in common. What, your money? Is that what you have in common? Your fucking money?
Did he get a car, too?
No, that's another guy that got a car. He was a complete fucking idiot. He got a car after I told him not to. I'm like, dude, don't. These people are sharks out here. They know you're dumb. They know you're young. They know you don't know any better, and they're going to charge you a 27% APR on your first fucking car. He calls me on Saturday. Hey, Sergeant, I got a car. God damn it. And then by Monday, he's like, hey, it's not working. I don't know. It's making this funny sound and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, you better go take it to the dealership and figure out what the hell's going on with your car, because you just bought it. He's like, okay, you mind if I go? I'm like, you know what? We're not doing anything today. Go ahead and take care of your car. He goes to the dealer. He comes back. I don't see him all day. And that was on Monday. By Wednesday morning, I'm like, dude, where the fuck's my guy at? Tuesday, he come around. He checked in and everything. Obviously, he's alive. But then I don't see him again. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I asked my platoon sergeant, I'm like, hey, man, this guy, he's gone. I don't know where the hell he's at. He's like, oh, yeah, no, he's getting chaptered out of the Army. Well, what do you mean? He's like, well, fucking your dumbass private decided to go to his dealership to get a mechanic to work on his car, and he decided to smoke a joint with his mechanic. So this kid had joined the Army, gone to his unit, and gotten out of the Army all within 4 months.
Not some of our best and brightest there, huh?
No, man. Absolutely not.
But at least you don't have that cautionary tale of yourself. And like I said, coming out of there, you really seem to have some things that you wanted to accomplish, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude.
What was, like, the first thing on the docket as soon as you got out? Like, in your head, like, this is what I have to do next.
So, when I got out, I was like, okay, definitely have to make something out of myself. I'm going to get an education. Obviously, the post 9/11 GI Bill was phenomenal. Instrumental in everything I built upon now. But yeah, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to school. I don't know what I'm going to go to school for yet. I have an idea, but I'm not sure. But the most important thing is to go to school. So I get out of the Army, and any veteran will tell you, after you've been to the Army and been in the Army, been in the Marines, whatever, for X amount of years, you come out. It's a crash course into civilian life. You've completely changed. You have no idea how. And especially for us combat guys, you start, little things in the back of your head start coming up that weren't there before. That PTSD starts kicking in.
Okay.
So for the first 6 months, I really didn't do much. I got hairy, got fat. I lost, aspirations in life. But luckily, my fiance at the time, which is my wife now, she was able to kick my ass into gear, and I went to school. And then I just saw it as a new challenge. Like, hey man, you haven't failed. You pride yourself in winning and conquering new things. So school is that new thing. So quit being a bitch, get your shit together, rock up, lace up your boots, and get the fuck after it. So that's what I did.
So you ended up at Citrus?
Yeah, and ended up at Citrus College. The only reason I went there is because they had an awesome veteran center.
Did you immediately start looking into nursing, or was there something else you were trying to go after first?
So when I was in the military, I had different experiences that influenced me to go to nursing school. Some hard shit that I saw. I'll just leave it at that. But I came out and I kind of had my idea of nursing school. I come out, PTSD starts happening, depression starts happening. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Crash course into civilian life, like I said. 6 months to figure it out. Okay, got it. Now I'm going back to school and I'm becoming a nurse. And then it was a nursing school all the way after that.
Yeah, like nonstop, right?
Nonstop, dude. I did not take a break. I was a full-time student. I saw it as my wife got a county job at the time. So I was like, she's working and she's paying the bills. So I better act like I'm at fucking work when I'm, pulling in those grades. And that's the way I saw it. It was my job.
Can't have a sugar mama forever, right?
What's that?
Can't have a sugar mama forever, right?
Nah, man, you gotta get your shit together eventually. God bless her. I love her so goddamn much. I've told her before, hey babe, if it wasn't for you, I'd probably be dead in the ditch somewhere. And maybe the first couple of times she chuckled at that, and then she's like, no, you're probably right.
Oh man. So now you're a registered nurse.
I am a registered nurse, yes sir.
Yep. And so I wanted to establish that, right? Just because I want to talk a little bit about, and this is what kind of was the meat of the podcast. I wanted to talk about how some people are behaving when it comes to this pandemic, right? And I mean, in general, U.S. society right now, you get people who are saying, this is some kind of hoax, this is some kind of fake issue that we shouldn't, be locked down and quarantined like we are. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, unfortunately, during this period in our country, we are so fucking divided, and anywhere from the biggest issue ranging to the smallest issue, it's going to get politicized one way or another, and one side of the aisle is going to use it to hurt the other side of the aisle. And this pandemic is no different. So you got some people saying, open up the country back up, let's do it. And then you have other people saying, hey man, maybe we should keep it on full lockdown for a little bit longer, or, ease up on the restrictions slowly. Like I said, it's become political. So a lot of the people that are out there are just out there because they feel like their quote-unquote team is for that issue, whether you're with it or against it. And I'm afraid that a lot of decisions and a lot of the way that people feel aren't really based off of facts or science. So there's my thing. the numbers say something different than what how people are feeling right now.
Yeah.
That being said,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That being said, what do I think? Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, depending on where you're at, it's night and day. New York, mass graves, their morgues are overfilling. You have to keep them on, refrigerated containers. Over here, not so much. Why? Why isn't it looking like that over here? Well, New York, everybody's kind of, like packed in like sardines, so that thing could just, spread it like wildfire. Over here, we got a little bit more room to breathe, and so we're keeping our social distancing. Also, we caught it on time. California was like, all right, we're locking this shit down. We're practicing social distancing. And we had all these interventions implemented early on enough to where we did flatten that curve. I don't know if you remember that saying.
Yeah.
Right. And you want me to go over that, what that meant?
Go ahead.
Or what that means?
Yeah.
Okay, so flattening the curve means slowing down the rate of infection. Right? Because remember, this is a pandemic. This is a upper respiratory infection. It's kind of like the flu. When was the last time we stopped the flu, a flu season? Fucking never.
Yeah.
You can't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to spread. It's going to run its course. So the best thing we can do is slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there is a finite of resources in the hospital. ICU beds, ventilators, PPE, personal protective equipment, and medical personnel. There's a finite resource. If we did nothing and we let this thing run its course, we would have reached our peak. Shit, I can't remember. Like a month ago, and we would have blown right past our ceiling for finite resources, which means that doctors would have had to conduct like wartime triage. All right, we don't have the resources. I have 4 people out of my emergency room that have this thing that are going to die tonight, and I have 1 ventilator left. Which one of these 4 has the highest probability of success? Well, that fucking guy does. Okay, that guy gets the vent. The other 3 are going to die. Oh. That's it. And I don't know if that's what they did in New York City, but I know that's what was going on in Italy. If anybody remembers that, they were getting hit pretty fucking hard with this thing. So that's what happens, right? We peak, we go past our finite line of resources, and people start dying. So what we did is we flattened that curve. We flattened that peak. There was no peak. We were just able to flatten it instead of everybody getting it all at once, because there was no implementations done. There was no social distancing. Nothing was shut down or anything. We shut everything down. Everybody stayed away from everybody. And this virus, is going to continue to spread, but it's going to spread at a rate where we never exhaust all our resources.
Right. Okay.
So that's what you're seeing right now.
Makes a little more sense. What do you think? Do you think the anti-vaxxers are going to jump on this vaccine, or are they going to continue to be like, oh, we don't want it?
I don't fucking know, man. I think the reason why we haven't heard anything from them people is because, I don't know, they might all be dead now. I have no idea. I have my own thing about anti-vaxxers. I think they're not science-savvy people. There are a lot of people that think they know because of stuff that they read on the internet.
Hold on a minute. You mean to tell me Jim Carrey is not a scientist? And his wife that posed nude for several magazines and publications?
I think she might have played a scientist in some of the movies I used to watch as a teenager.
I don't think she was even smart enough for that.
Maybe some magazines I was looking at. I'm not sure. I think I might have seen her in a white coat and glasses.
Interesting. But
yeah,
the anti-vaxxers, I'm curious to see if they'll jump on this vaccine when it comes out or not.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think this pandemic is like, it's straight up telling them, put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm. I was like, hey,
you're either gonna die on your hill and say that all vaccines are bad, or you're gonna be forced to admit that, hey, you need this fucker.
Well, I mean, I think it's caused other people to kind of push aside their morals and For example, right? What's everybody grabbing at the supermarket? They're grabbing all the meats. They're grabbing all the dairies. I'm like, you're looking around. You're like, wait a minute. I thought everybody was all gluten free and organic and all that other bullshit.
Man.
But I'm like, but all the fucking, tofu based bullshit is still on the shelves. Where's all my good shit?
You strip people down to their bare bone, back to, I don't know. Like I always think like this pandemic is. I hope that it humbles humanity.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world. Well, in this country at least, we live in this day and age where it's never been better. It's never been safer. It's never been more inclusive than it is now.
Mm.
Politically different story, but it's so safe out here. We make up bullshit to complain about. Oh, I want to be a vegan. Oh, I want to be gluten free. Oh, I want to be this and that. And people, they make that their flagship cause because they have nothing else to complain about. I mean, yeah, if you want to be vegan and you think the world is dying, fine. But pick up that cause. Great. We need people to do it, but don't be an asshole about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is really humbling. This is really teaching you. Nature is still very much in control of what we do as humans. We think we're this ultimate species, apex predator bullshit, and we're on top of the food chain and nothing could ever hurt us. Well, Mother Nature just said fuck you to all of us, and now we're in this boat. And now all your hopes and dreams that you really didn't, obviously it didn't really matter that much to you, they're finally being checked by Mother Nature. So
I think
that's going on.
I think the Walmart patriots will protect us with their guns at the protests, and they'll be like pew 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 pew. Right? They'll be
Walmart.
What do you think about that? How some of them are out there blocking nurses from going to work? They're saying that the nurses aren't really at work because they're making TikTok videos.
I got my own beef with that. I mean, I think TikTok videos are the lowest denominator. You know what I mean? I don't know how else to put that in politically correct terms, except that they're fucking stupid. Mm-hmm. Fun to look at, fun to see other people be stupid, but if you're making those, God bless your soul, I guess. Kind of leads into why does it look like nothing's really happening? Is because, well, we implemented all of these social distancing interventions. We were able to flatten the curve. Hey, this is what we wanted all along. We succeeded in our goal. That's why nothing happened. Give yourself a fucking pat on the back for that one. We were able to flatten the curve. A lot of stupid people are saying, "Oh, we did it all for nothing. You see, I told you nothing was going to happen." No, nothing happened because we did it. We told you to stay away from each other and to stay at home and do nothing. Mm-hmm. So it worked. In that case, the dumbass part of our society now thinks it was all a hoax because nothing happened. And now they're protesting nurses, they're protesting everything, telling us, we ain't shit. So it's disheartening. It reminds me of like that George Orwell, 1984.
Yeah. Well, that's the name of the podcast.
Ignorance you're right. Good callback. Where the dude, the big brother, they're able to change the current whatever enemy, they're able to change it on the flip of a switch. One day it's this person, the next day it's that person. Nobody ever remembers who they were fighting against yesterday. It's just what's today. I feel like a lot of the population nowadays is like that. Mm. One day you're an ally, the next day you're the worst enemy, you're a piece of shit.
No. Well, Uncle Cletus can still go to the beach and protest. You know what?
If you want to protest, it's your right as an American. We have freedom here. Mm-hmm. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom from religion. Open assembly, protest. Mm-hmm. But there's a huge correlation between those people that have protests, that are protesting out there, that's saying that, our civil liberties are being affected. And a lot of those dudes are wearing Trump hats, and a lot of them are having that hashtag Fire Fauci. And I don't know if you know who that is. Right. Dr. Fauci being the lead doc on the, not the infection control side of things. they want to fire this man. This man's the guy that led us out of the AIDS epidemics in the 80s. He's a fucking political. He's served every country since the 80s, every president since the 1980s. And you want to fire him just because, you know, you disagree with his methods to keeping the population safe?
Well, no, just because Trump said it's bad, right?
So it's goddamn shameful. You know, you're an American, go protest, that's fine. But you're a fucking conspiracy nut too. A lot of them are saying fire Fauci, saying that this was a hoax. You're a low level. You're showing signs of low level of intelligence, I guess.
And I try not to always go back to that, like, oh, they're Trump protests, they're Trump supporters, they're Trump. But god damn, when they come out wrapped like a fucking, you know, can of USA Bud Light and shit, like, fuck, dude, like, you guys do it to yourselves.
Exactly, man. And you know, like you said it perfectly. I don't say like, oh, Trump supporters are fucking stupid. No, there's a lot of people that voted for Trump. Obviously, he's the fucking president. You know, a lot of smart people voted for Trump. A lot of people voted for him. Not everybody's a dumbass, but that one fringe of that spectrum, those hardcore Trump supporters that see him as this, almost like this cult of personality. You know, fucking, you remember like Stalin from, you know, Russia after World War II, how everybody praised him like he was a god. I feel like Trump is like viewed in some of their eyes like that. You know, there's God, there's Jesus, and regular Jesus, there's fucking Trump in their eyes.
I would even argue that step right there.
So it's really disheartening. These people are lunatic. They're fucking lunatics. You know what I mean? And it's scary. It's really scary to think those people get to fucking vote
and breed.
Yep. Yes, they do.
So what's one of the coolest things about being a nurse so far? And then what's one of the biggest, like, misconceptions?
So, let's see. We'll start with the biggest misconception. You know, I remember when I told somebody, and I'll leave off names, but I told somebody, yeah, I want to be a nurse. And this person, you know, smart dude, obviously. And he's all like, oh, why would you want to go wipe ass all day? He's like, oh, isn't that what nurses do?
Cool.
And I was just like, oh, okay, well, you know, fuck you. And then, you know, so that's a big misconception. Like, oh, all we do is wipe ass. All we do is like monkey see, monkey do. Doctor says jump, you say how high. Well, as nurses, we have our own license. You know, we have autonomy. Now, we don't get to practice medicine. We don't get to write orders. We can't prescribe. But we follow the doctor's orders as long as they make sense in our head. We have to use our critical thinking. That's why we have our licenses separate from the doctor. So if the doctor comes in and this person has a blood pressure of shit over nothing, which means they're about to die, and they say, oh yeah, give him, you know, I want you to give him 10 milligrams of morphine because he's in pain. I look at him like he has a big dick on his face and I say, you're a fucking idiot, get fucked. I'm not doing that. You need to go talk to your boss right now and tell him that you're a fucking moron. Because, you know, if you were of that mentality that the doctor says jump, you say how high, you give that med, you just killed that patient. Oh, when that eventually goes to court, the judge and the jury is going to look at you and say, why did you do it? And if you say, well, the doctor ordered me to, they're going to say, well, didn't you fucking go to school for this? Don't you know pharmacokinetics? Don't you have your own license? You know, you have a responsibility as a nurse. You have your primary responsibility as a nurse is patient-centered care, which means A, you do everything in the well-being of that patient, but B, you keep that patient safe.
Right.
You did not keep that patient safe. That's negligence. You're going to jail.
Have you experienced that where you have to kind of go back and forth with the doctor?
Oh, fuck yeah, man. Absolutely. All the time. Maybe not to that degree, you know. A lot of the doctors I work with, you gotta remember, I work at a teaching hospital, so I get a lot of first-year residents, right? Which means they just finished medical school. Now last week they were medical student. This week they're a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
People are calling them doctors, and people are looking at them like, "What the fuck do you want us to do?"
Mm-hmm.
It's doesn't matter who you are. It's
they got the training wheels on.
It's pretty hardcore, and a lot of them, these are people that became doctors. They went to emergency medicine. It's the fucking trenches, if you want to call it that. So a lot of them come in with these big egos,
Mm-hmm.
and they get really fucking humbled really goddamn quick. They get put in their place real fucking fast.
Oh.
And you got a nurse that's been doing their job for about 3, 4, 5 years, and you got a guy that just came out of medical school. Guess what, man? You're gonna want to fucking listen to that nurse, because that nurse has seen some shit, and you just got here. So it's the senior residents, the guys, the doctors that have been doing it for 2 or 3 or 4 years. They kind of look at those new guys and they're like, you need to fucking listen to these goddamn nurses, because you're gonna get somebody killed. And they get checked fairly quickly, but before they get checked by the other doctors, the nurses are the ones that check them.
Okay, good, cool. I didn't know that. That's actually very, very interesting. And so then, what's the coolest part of being a nurse so far in your experience?
So there's a lot of cool things about being a nurse. Depending on what type of nurse you want to be, where you want to work. The job takes you. Passion can lead you in whatever category of nursing you want to go into. And I'll start off by saying that it's a very rewarding gig. It's not fucking easy by any means. It'll tax you. It'll tax your body. It'll tax your emotion. No matter where you work. But especially in the emergency room, I've seen some shit that fucking never gonna leave me. However, the most rewarding thing about being a nurse is that for me in the emergency room, it's I get to be there. I get to be in the front line. That's where I want to be. That's what I want to do. It takes a certain personality. You gotta have a certain trait to work in the emergency room, and it's the only place I want to work. I've pumped chest, done CPR, done chest compressions on people. Not all the time, but I've done it a number of times. A lot of times they don't come back, but when they do, it feels great that you were there and you did your job. There's been times where, we do the quote unquote homie drop off, which was when some car pulls up to the curb and they run in, scream for help, or they throw their buddy down there on the curbside. And you go over there and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Sometimes they're shot, other times they're overdosed on whatever. So you snatch those dudes up, fucking kicking the doors to the emergency room like you're breaching a house in Afghanistan or whatever, and you find the nearest bed, you throw them on there, and then you start working on them.
All right. So before we get into the social media says comments, which is what I'd like to ask everybody on their episode, is there anything left in the world of nursing that you want to do next?
Funny you should say that. So I've been working in the emergency room for 3 years already. I love it. It's great. I couldn't do any other type of nursing. I could try ICU, intensive care unit. I think that's the only other thing that would appeal to me. But it's slower pace. The thing about the emergency room is that you never know what the hell is going to come through that door. You just don't. You're always like, there's a lot of times where you're just, in the early morning, you don't have much to do. You're just chilling, right? You're continuing the care of the patients that were there overnight, and by that time they're admitted. So you're just doing routine stuff, right? Boom, kind of boring, kind of like the stuff they do upstairs. And then the day starts picking up, and you start getting all these cases. It could be a gunshot, it could be an OD, it could be there's a certain hour between like 7 and 9 where fucking grandpa come up because start showing up at our doors because they didn't wake up on time, and then they go in there and, oh shit, grandma's on the floor, she's not breathing anymore, call 911. So that's about the time those start coming in. So again, it's the whole unknown that makes it exciting. What do I want to do next? I I just applied to grad school. We'll see how that
Nice.
goes. I want to continue my my career as a nurse. I think it's a great career. That's one of the great things about it. You could take it any which way you want. You could be at the bedside. You could be home health. You could be oncology. You could be palliative. If you want to be there when people are dying and helping them, come to peace with that, you could do that. It's great. Me, I want to go to grad school, become a nurse practitioner, and see where that takes me. That means that I have the power to prescribe, power to diagnose. Kind of like a PA, a physician's assistant.
Right. Okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get into some of the social media says comments. And again, this is kind of tying it back a little bit to the pandemic. And so the basic question was, is the pandemic as bad as the media makes it out to be? So we only had a few. So we had 3 comments. We had Miguel Huerta from Facebook. Says, depends on the media. Some downplayed it, some blew it out of proportion. Is it bad? It says it is bad, and it's because of our lack of leadership that it got that bad. For example, Ebola has an approximate 40% mortality rate, yet we only had 1 death in the last outbreak in the U.S. This is why the CDC and the WHO exist. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm going to open up with I'm a registered nurse. I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't have a degree in, I haven't studied viruses or, infections in that fashion. So I can't answer and give you specific things. I can say is, if you want the whole Ebola thing, if you want a good documentary, quote unquote documentary, go to Netflix, watch the pandemic series.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. Like, you're like, oh shit, maybe that's why people think that this is a hoax, because that thing came out and then a couple of months later, fucking boom, corona hits.
Right.
So there's your little fucking
little plug.
Conspiracy nut thing in there. But check it out. It's got some good information on there. Do I think it's bad? Like I said, depends where you're at. New York City, fucking A, man. It's pretty bad. Italy, wartime fucking triage. I got 1 vent. I got 4 patients. That one's gonna get it. Give the other 3. See you in the next life.
Right.
So it's bad. China has, this thing originated in China. All those conspiracy theories of, fucking the U.S. took it there. It escaped the lab. No, this came out of a wet market where they keep live animals right next to each other that nature didn't intend them to be right next to each other. Mm-hmm. And they keep spreading these fucking viruses that keep mutating, jumping from species to species. And it finally hits an animal that can jump, the vector, which is the animal, mm-hmm. can do the bridge between that animal and humans.
Right.
And these are viruses that we're not used to. We've never seen the human form of this, ever. So it's fucking us up. There's a reason why Wuhan, where this virus came out, like, the Chinese government tried to stomp out the severity of it. Mm-hmm. And the first doctors that were speaking out against it, they actually got arrested.
Wow.
Because China has to save face in the global stage. So A, they arrested them. B, they downplayed it. C, they started shutting down everything, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, dude, the Wuhan had been closed down since January, complete fucking shutdown. You can't even go outside of your apartment building.
Right.
You don't do that for a fucking flu, Mm-hmm. It's bad. And then the numbers, they started reporting the numbers, the death toll, the infection toll kept going up. Mm-hmm. And then, lo and behold, the Chinese government takes out those local politicians, gets them out of power, mm-hmm. puts other politicians in, company men, and all of a sudden, oh shit, the virus is going down. No, it's not that big of a deal, yada, yada, yada. Well, there's fucking reports, and when they did that, they actually kicked out all American journalists from China.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking coincidence, man. You take out journalists because, you're hiding something. Well, there's reports that say that their fucking crematories have been going nonstop, 24/7.
Right, and then they start trying to convince us that, hey, we're all clean now, we're all good.
Oh, man, it's fucking bullshit. So, is the media blowing it out of proportion? No, I don't fucking think so. I mean, maybe. I don't really watch the fucking, your conventional news.
Yeah.
I don't watch CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. any of that shit. I try to get my stuff from like Reuters, Washington Post, some NPR, the BBC, believe it or not, fucking Al Jazeera's. You know, as long as you get past the whole quote unquote death to America spin on things, they do some decent reportings. But no, this is a serious fucking virus, and like I said, the reason why you're not seeing it is because these implementations that we took are taking effect.
Okay. So I got 2 more comments for the social media says, and I think these were kind of sent in maybe like 2-3 weeks ago, just to give you a heads up. All right, so we got Valerie Garcia from Facebook. Valerie says, as far as the pandemic, I think it's bad, but I believe that the media is just scaring people even more and reporting all the deaths and all the people who have contracted the virus, but I believe it's for good reason. If they downplayed it, if people wouldn't take it as seriously, and they would ignore orders and be like how they were before, going out and possibly contracting it or giving it to someone else. If they're asymptomatic, she says, we move the virus. So yeah, I mean, I guess the comment said that yes, it is being kind of blown out of proportion, but for good reason.
First of all, that would make the assumption that the media is altruistic and doing it for our benefit. The only benefit they're doing it is for their fucking pocketbook. You know, fear sells. It fucking sells. You're gonna buy, the old saying, you're gonna buy newspapers if you're scared. The same thing here. You're gonna click on that shit if it scares you. So fear sells. They're doing it for, their bottom line, how they're gonna look for their advertisers, and how they're gonna make money off of it. Okay, that's straight up. But do I think they're blowing it out of proportion? Depends on what news you're watching, really. If you again look at freedom.trumptrain.libtards.com, they're going to say it's a complete hoax. If you look at MSNBC, all-inclusive coexist, the LGBTQ barcode, or whatever you want to call it, it's going to tell you that full lockdown is all we need, and that Trump is the devil incarnated.
I wonder what Jethro's personal online journal will tell us.
Yeah, fucking A. So it all depends on what sources you're getting, man. It's
for sure.
And that's what it is.
And we got one last comment from Armando Gonzalez on Facebook. Says it's too early to tell. The danger in trying to call it one way or another is that if you take the attitude of it's blown out of proportion, is that it isn't over yet. And things look better than expected, but there are states who haven't implemented social distancing and haven't peaked yet. The flip side is that maybe we don't reach 100,000 deaths, which is great. People will complain that it was blown out of proportion, and we shouldn't have been on lockdown in the first place, kind of like you were saying earlier. The likelihood, though, is that the lockdown measures would have helped to keep those numbers low, which is pretty much what we were talking about earlier, how, look, the reason the numbers aren't as high is because, we did something about it.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, we did something about it, and I do want to add, too, that the whole country was shut down for a while. Everybody, every state, everywhere, the whole fucking world was practicing social distancing. I mean, you gotta remember, this isn't like local to your town, your city, your state, or your country. This shit's happening all over the world. This hasn't been seen since, like, the Spanish flu of 1908. It's bad.
I never thought I'd see it like this,
Yeah, it's not something that ever, it's ever in the back of your mind. Like, the pandemic's gonna hit. Again, like I said, humans think we're above the food chain. We think we're in charge. Nah, motherfucker, nature's in charge. Yeah. And she's just checking us. We're overpopulated as fuck in this world. We're polluting the shit out of our world, out of the earth. Maybe this is Earth's way of saying, you know what, I'm gonna check you back.
It's funny because when this whole thing started, every time at work, you'd have staff check in like, hey, should we start to worry now? And, I'm kind of like the one that's like, nah, let's give it a little bit longer and see, right? And so they'd be like, hey, there was finally a death in in the U.S. Due to this virus. Should we start to worry now? Nah, we'll be good. Hey, they're talking about the LAUSD might close down schools at some point. Should we start to worry now? Nah, we'll be fine. You know, and I kept doing that whole thing. Like I thought it was hilarious because even up until the last day when they closed all campuses in the middle of March, they're like, Mr. O, should we start to worry now? I'm like, nah, we'll still get paid. You know, so it's like I always try to kind of have like a good, positive output on it, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, man. You don't want things to suck, you know?
No, dude. As a leader, you have a responsibility to your people. A leader's job is when there's a fire, you try to put out the fires. You try to quench the fear. You try to reassure people that everything's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. You know, that's your job as a leader. You don't fucking throw flame in the fire and you go, yeah, it's gonna fucking suck. Oh my god, fucking bring in everything. We're gonna die. We're all gonna die. Yeah. You know, that's not a very effective leader. So, you try to quench it, but you got to do your research and shit, and you got to make sure your people are taken care of.
Yeah. Well, all right. We're a little over an hour now. We're about to close out. Is there anything else you want to touch on as far as the pandemic or nursing?
Nursing's a great career. It's very rewarding. I love it. You get to make a difference in people's lives. Literally make a difference. Like, oh shit, that person stopped breathing. Let me do something about that. You're also, there's that piece, and there's also the piece where people are coming in, an emotional wreck, stuff like that, and you're able to inspire hope.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing all on its own. You're able to provide competent, compassionate, patient-centered care. And it's fucking amazing. You feel great as a human being being able to provide that to somebody else. So there's that. Also, let's say you're not altruistic at all and you just want to do it to fatten up your pockets. Well, I'd say go find a different profession, but it's a pretty good gig. You'll get paid well, but it's going to take a physical and emotional toll on you. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Pandemic.
Or we could just keep it how we kept it.
Yeah. Pandemic. Fuck, man. I don't know. I feel like our governor, Newsom, he took some early actions. I really liked what he did. He took charge when he had to. I'm really impressed with him. I'm not a fucking hippie. I'm also not a Trumpster. I'm somewhere in the middle. But I really like what he did. He showed some true leadership during this pandemic. I hope he continues to do a good job. I hope that he is guided by science and by data when he decides to open up the state again. Mm-hmm. But so far, I think he's doing a good job. I think that when he went out of his way and he said, fuck this, we're going to get N95s, respirators, for our frontline workers, and I don't give a fuck who gets pissed off about it. We're going to use our nation state economy, because we're like the fourth biggest economy in the world, the state of California.
Yep.
No, like, we're going to use that power and we're going to fucking flex it. He flexed it. He got us the shit we need. Right. Good. He got those ventilators from the National Reserve, the emergency ventilators, and they were all broken. He's like, we got 170 ventilators from the National Reserve. They didn't work. He sent them up to Silicon Valley. He's like, they'll be back here in 3 days and they're all going to be working.
Okay.
Great fucking leadership. I was like, Jesus Christ, I think you're a hippie, but you're knocking it out. You're doing a great job. I think that he's the type of guy that nobody likes to see their state hurting, especially as a leader. You don't want to see your people hurt. He's going to open up the country, and it's not going to be, I hope it's not dictated by politics. I hope it's not dictated by polls. I hope it's dictated by science. And so far, he's done everything, in step with what science has told them. So I'm hoping he continues to do that.
Cool.
I hope he continues to show great leadership. That being said, this thing's not over. It's not going to be over. The reason why everything's calmed down right now is because we all did what we were supposed to. We stayed away. However, our economy's taking a hit. Now we're going to have to, weigh it out. What's more important, the economy or about a third of our population.
Right. And I wonder how that economy is going to come back, though.
I don't know, man. So many small businesses, so many, they're losing their shit, and I feel so horrible.
Hey, well, the Lakers got billions, so.
Dude, fucking greed. Now I know why greed is a fucking. If you're, Christian or believe in Christianity, now I know why greed is a fucking deadly sin. Jesus Christ, these people have no fucking soul. What is wrong with you? Why do you think your multi-billion-dollar corporation needs a small business loan, you piece of shit?
Well, they gave it back, supposedly, but, I mean...
Yeah, but it only took fucking social media pressure to get them to do that.
Who gave them the money in the first place, It's like...
Loopholes, man. Loopholes. There's, you put legislator, you put a law into place, you put this piece of paper that dictates where money goes, and once that piece of paper's in there and Congress has voted on it, that's it. No one person, I don't think, can say, no, we're not giving this to this person, to this organization or that. It's like, hey, man, there's the fucking script. They read it. They filled it out. They meet all the requirements. There ain't shit I can do about it. Because then people will call you a dictator.
Right.
They'll say you're above the law. You are writing the law as you go along, as the fucking ink is still wet. This is America. We believe in a constitution. We believe in the rule of law. If that shit's law, hey man, it's gonna fly.
Crazy. Anybody else? Yeah. Anything else you want to shout out or talk about before we close out?
No. I mean, I wish I could. I wish I had more time, but my son's knocking at the door right now.
That was that noise. All right.
Yeah, daddy duty, man. Fucking love. Oh yeah. Well, Marcus, if you're listening to this in about 20 years, love you, kid. You kind of kicked me in the face today, but that's cool. I'll let that slide. I'll get you back when you're 18.
Just take him down. He's going to be a wrestler.
Dude, he already knows how to roll. He already knows how to do a single leg. It's great. Just teaching him. I'm getting him down. That kid has taken some fucking hits, and he just bounces off a wall, bounces off table, bounces off the ground, and he's like, "All right, I'm good."
Nice.
And I'm just like, "Oh shit, okay, let's do it. You're gonna be a tough kid."
Get some headgear on the kid, you'll be fine.
Yeah, man. No, I love my kid. Fatherhood has been amazing. It's a great journey. I love him. It's a piece of me that I never thought existed. A love that I never thought existed, and I love my son. I love my family. Get to go.
Getting that full house casa llena of your own.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe keep reducing the paisas. I'm gonna keep the paisa down to me, and my son is half paisa. So, we'll see what's up.
Yeah. All right. So before I let you go, I'd like to ask the guests to comment on the next episode. So next episode will be about extreme weight loss.
Oh Jesus!
So you know my brother Mauricio.
Yeah.
He's lost 100 pounds twice in his lifetime.
Holy shit, snacks.
Yeah.
God
what are your quick thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, there's a healthy way to do weight loss and there's an unhealthy way to do weight loss. So I hope he's doing the healthy way. He's taking nutrition into account, taking exercise into account. Weight loss like we knew it back in wrestling and how they know it in the fight game today is super fucking dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
You're tearing up your body in ways you have no idea how you're doing, what effect and damage you're doing later on in your life. But it's definitely unhealthy. It's horrible. You're doing more damage than good. Eating disorders, bad. You need fucking help. However, if you're doing it the right way, you're doing exercises, you're eating right, you're doing great, man. That is a fucking great pathway. That is a great goal to have. It'll really set your mind forward.
For sure. All right, then. So thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you guys got a lot out of this conversation. I thought it was fun. How was your first podcast experience?
I was a little shaky at first. Didn't know what to expect, but I think I got my groove later on.
All right. So we'll actually be posted probably tomorrow morning.
Perfect. I feel like it's going to be like Homer Simpson when he hears his own voice over the radio and be like, holy shit, that's what I sound like.
Well, I mean, we should have done it before. It's just, I was dying.
Yeah. Whatever, man. Fuck it.
So
we'll do it live. Fuck
it. Exactly. That's how we do it. Yeah. All right, then. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Appreciate it. Thank you. Fuck you. And good night. subscribe to the Ignorance is Strength podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.